Episode 305.
So Postmates is they'll pretty much deliver anything. And if they can't deliver it, then I'll open the TaskRabbit app. And TaskRabbit is great for, they can come over and help you put together IKEA furniture. You know, we've had big parties and they've delivered a keg for us, for instance.
Welcome, aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Welcome, aftermarketers throughout North America and around the world, to a very special interview. Now, we're going to hear from a Chicago executive that doesn't own a car, yet has no problem living a great life in the Windy City. Carm Capriato here on the Aftermarket's premier talk radio podcast. You're listening to episode 305 with Derek Kaufman and special guest Joran Thompson. This episode is presented by Federal Mogul Motor Parts. They're the reason you enjoy these great aftermarket interviews. Hey, when you need innovation and quality, you need Federal Mogul Motor Parts. Brands like Moog, Felpro, Wagner Brake, Anco, Champion, Seal Power, FP Diesel, and more. They're the parts techs trust. Find out more at fmmotorparts.com, and thanks for supporting these brands. Hey, welcome new LinkedIn connections, Kevin Fallowfield, Harlan Wren, and Louis DiMatteo, and my new Facebook friends of the podcast, Scott Groen, Matt Patulis, Michelle Ross, Juan Manuel Tovar, and Robert Dyer. Thanks for your connections, and for all social connections to the podcast and the Insider newsletter, go to remarkableresults.biz/social. Okay, here's the scoop on this interview with Derek Kaufman, managing partner at Schwartz Associates, and Joran Thompson, director of business development at Digital Kitchen. Derek was working with Joran on a project when she mentioned to him that she didn't own a car. He perked right up. He's a car guy. She further explained to Derek that her life works well without a car. Well, Derek gravitated to her story, recorded it, and sent it to me to share with you. Joran hasn't owned a car for some time, maybe about 12 years now, and she lacks for nothing while living in Chicago, our country's third largest city of 2.7 million people. Listen to Joran explain how she does it. The big takeaway for aftermarket professionals is that the services that Joran employs drives the miles she would have. So those vehicles will need to be serviced for sure. The fascinating hook in this story is that Joran lives a great life in Chicago by using apps. Derek and I felt that you would enjoy the refreshing look at the integration of apps and transportation as a service into our lives. It's a must listen. We're following up today on our previous conversations with Derek Kaufman of Schwartz Advisors. Derek's been following the emergence of new technologies and has done a lot of work to understand the growth and timing of autonomous vehicles. Hey, welcome back, Derek.
Thanks, Carm. Very good to be back with you.
I'm pleased to do this episode. For this session, you're bringing something really, really interesting, an interview with someone who does not own a car. And I'm fascinated by this. You may take a minute to explain how a person without a car can inform our audience, a bunch of car people for sure, about their future.
Well, absolutely. I met a woman named Joran Thompson a few weeks ago while working with a company called Digital Kitchen in Chicago. Digital Kitchen, which is an unlikely name, I understand. But this company creates high-impact digital presentations for their business clients. So if you've been to the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta and you watch the pregame show, there is a screen around that football field that is 58 foot tall, and it has a 21,000 pixel resolution on it. All the content on that screen is Digital Kitchen's work. That's the type of company they are.
Okay.
Joran is the director of business development for the company, and while working with her on a project recently, she just kind of casually mentioned to me that she has not owned a car for 12 years. Well, come on, you just throw a statement like that to a car guy and let it go past. So I was kind of all over that.
You were probably like laser focused. I got to hear this, right?
Absolutely. We were shooting a video and I just asked, can we turn the microphone around and interview you, to understand how she manages life without wheels. And I even told her, I said, you were the first person I thought of when she said that. I said, well, Carm's got to hear this. So I think what she says could actually make some service shop owners happy when you understand how she lives without a car.
Very interesting. So Joran lives in Chicago. So the urban proximity is a big factor in not owning a vehicle, right?
Yeah, really. I mean, that is a central factor. The ability to walk to local stores and restaurants is important. But as you listen to Joran, you understand what it's really about is apps. Web-based apps. That's how she manages life without a car. And as I talked to her, I kind of lost track of the number of apps she mentioned, but it was at least a dozen.
I'm talking with Jonathan Cicchelli, a technical product specialist with Federal Mogul Motor Parts. So Jonathan, how does a service professional get the Guru on the Go van to their shop?
There's a couple ways. We do what we call cold calls, where we go around and just visit shops based on geographics, and there's also times where we team up with outside sales reps from other parts distributors and visit the shops on that basis.
So I love this. You pull into a shop on a cold call, they see the van, and they're probably excited to see you.
Yeah, I've had a couple shops where they've actually have already heard of the Gurus via Facebook or social media. So when I show up, they've already been signed up and taken online classes, and now that the van's there, it's really easy to book a lunch and learn.
So you're really an extension of the Garage Guru training centers.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're all done with your lunch and learn. You spend 45 minutes to an hour. Probably that's all you can really get from a busy, busy shop. What are the technicians saying about your shop visit?
Oh, they love it. They thank me, every second I'm walking out the door and just can't wait for me to come back again.
Federal Mogul Motor Parts' Garage Gurus is your go-to source for the vehicle training, technology, and answers you need to keep your next job on track. On site, online, or on demand, the Gurus are here to help keep your business and your career on the road to success. Visit fmgarageguru.com. Fascinating interview. Let's listen. Everyone listen carefully and see if you can pick all of the apps out that she uses.
I'm Joran Thompson. I'm the Director of Business Development at Digital Kitchen, and I don't own a car. I live in Chicago. I have lived in Chicago since 2006. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, always had a car. I went to college at Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois, and there I had a car for a couple years. Decided to move to Chicago right away after graduation with my best friend from college. And it was the day that my parents dropped me off that they brought with a Honda Accord. Great gas mileage, could kind of get dinged up. But I had an apartment in Wrigleyville. The Wrigleyville neighborhood in Chicago is very dense, lots of cars, lots of tickets being given. And my parents actually said, this just doesn't make sense. We routed my route on the CTA, which is our public transportation system, to get to work. And it just didn't seem to make sense to have a car. So they actually each drove 2 separate cars back to Pennsylvania. And I kind of forgot that in this whole process of moving, my dad thought it would be okay to park a Jeep and a U-Haul in the grocery store parking lot across the street from my new apartment. And we woke up and it was all gone, towed. And so I think after that experience, my mom kind of knew that I may not be the best candidate either to have a car in the city. So I thought, yeah, for now it's fine. I can always bring this car back. So that was in 2006. And here we are in 2017, and I still don't have a car. I've always worked in the city, so that's been a big help. But I've also probably moved about 7 times in the city, and regardless of what neighborhood I've been in or what the transportation situation to work was, I always found a way to take the bus or the train. In 2011, I believe, 2011, I started working in marketing for startups in Chicago. And so I was actually surrounded by lots of companies who were launching things, launching apps. And I just recognized and identified with being an early adopter of all sorts. So if something came out, I would try it. No question about it. One of these, we had a client, I was helping to run a website with two other girls. So there were the three of us running this startup called Cheeky Chicago. And Cheeky Chicago was a lifestyle guide and website, events. It was what to do and where to go. It was content for basically women who are 24 to 40 in Chicago. So we were actually responsible for launching Uber in Chicago. And at the time, they only had black cars. And so we had this promo code Cheeky. We would try to get out all the time. And Uber's expectation was if you get 30 to 50 signups, that's success for us. That's our measure of success. I believe we got about 1,600 signups in a month. Here, we were just taking Ubers all the time. And granted, they were the fancy black cars, but slowly but surely, then Uber launched UberX, which I was taking first before any of my friends, and they were all terrified to get into a car with a stranger. But now it's completely ubiquitous and everybody does it. So even with that, we did a promotion with Sidecar. We did a promotion with Lyft. And so I was always just very comfortable getting in cars with strangers, which is kind of crazy. But so since then, I try to walk to work in the summer when it's nice out. It's super refreshing. I can walk and then take the bus. I have my route down. But otherwise, if it gets to be wintertime in Chicago, it's just easier. I'll take a quick Uber. Over the years, I've had coworkers who've lived right next to me, and you can split the fare for rides. So sometimes that just makes more sense. My husband, he does have a car, and we just got married on Labor Day this year. But his car is through work. So I wasn't actually even able to be on his insurance for his car up until right now. So I will be added to that, but it'll be interesting to see how much I really do drive and use it, because I'm truly not even used to driving in Chicago all that much. When I go home to Pennsylvania, I'll drive my parents' car and I'm loving it. And it's the Pennsylvania back roads that I know from high school. So that's a blast. But food-wise, so I got to bring up my apps. I have a whole delivery folder in my apps, and Instacart is probably my most favorite. There you can get anything from Mariano's, you can get Costco, really any grocery store delivered, but it's very specific to grocery stores. If you need something quick at CVS and you're sick and you need a thermometer and some Tylenol and some orange juice, then I'll probably use Postmates. So Postmates they'll pretty much deliver anything. They can pop around. And if they can't deliver it, then I'll open the TaskRabbit app. And TaskRabbit is great for, they can come over and help you put together IKEA furniture, or they can, we've had big parties and they've delivered a keg for us, for instance. Or TaskRabbit's, it's kind of a wild app. They'll stand in line at a restaurant for 2 hours if you want them to, but mostly I've used TaskRabbits if, hey, I really need something. Or typically it's those last minute things, like when I have a baby shower and I didn't get the gift at Bye Bye Baby, and that would be really nice to drive to, but it actually is more cost effective if I have a TaskRabbit go and do it than if I Uber there and back. So it's kind of crazy. Then Amazon Fresh, they now have groceries. I've tried it once. It was fine. It was okay, but I feel like they're still getting their footing. So if that gets up and running, Amazon Prime is our everyday. Is life. I don't know what we did. Laundry detergent, paper towels in bulk, toilet paper in bulk, all of that kind of thing. That's always Amazon Prime. Christmas gifts, we always deliver Christmas gifts. So for instance, we'll also, when we go home to our families over the holidays, we will either take a train or we'll fly. And you don't want to be flying with all these gifts. So we always just ship them where they need to be, and then we wrap them once we get there. Dry cleaning makes me feel very productive because you just click an app, the Drive. It's a DRYV, the Drive app. Actually, someone I used to work with, or worked in the 1871 community here in Chicago, which is kind of a big digital hub, started that. That has been a game changer. You just punch in the time you want them to show up, and then the next day they will deliver your dry cleaning whenever you ask them to arrive, and it is door-to-door service. So the more apps that are like that, for food, Grubhub is great. And for groceries, Peapod is great as well. But Instacart's really the best one, I think, because you can get groceries delivered in 2 hours. So if you're having guests in town, you could even get your groceries delivered from 6 to 8 in the morning, have it all ready. And I find that it's beneficial for my time because I can sit there in my pajamas, be decompressing from a long day, and get my grocery shopping done. All about the apps, all about the proximity, but also our neighborhood. We live in Wicker Park, so we can walk 3 blocks and it's just a booming community of retail shops and even just supporting local businesses like that. I mean, we were just strolling down the street and we found a little jewelry store and found my wedding ring. So that kind of thing too, where we really like to support those businesses and stay in the neighborhood.
Fascinating interview. Thanks, Joran, for giving of what's going on in your world. It's really amazing the amount of stuff that she has delivered. Everything from food to thermometers when she's ill. She's built a whole support infrastructure using her smartphone.
Exactly, and she was so comfortable talking about it. And I'd say that this is the message of the interview. I think the thing that the auto aftermarket should feel good about here is, yes, Joran doesn't own a car, but she depends on other people's vehicles a lot. Her life as a non-vehicle owner doesn't work very well without a lot of vehicles delivering things, and the availability of those cars to companies like TaskRabbit and Drive and Instacart and the host of other names that she mentioned is absolutely critical. So vehicle uptime is a big deal to them. So service is critical too.
Yeah, the miles are there, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The miles are there for the people that are delivering things to Joran. So fascinating. Yeah, I didn't look at it, Derek, as anything bad. I looked at it as interesting. A millennial dealing with an urban setting. So, man, if I can only get TaskRabbit to stand in line for me at the DMV, I'd be a happy guy.
There you go. That's what the life in the future is all about, Carm.
Hey, Derek, thank you so much for your contribution and for thinking of the Remarkable Results Radio podcast listeners.
Thanks, Carm.
Hey, thanks, Derek Kaufman, Managing Partner, Schwartz Associates, and Joran Thompson, Director of Business Development at Digital Kitchen. Thanks for sharing. For many of us, using an app is not what we would think of when looking for someone to construct our IKEA furniture or to even stand in line for us at a restaurant. In the New World Order, we need to pay attention to how technology is changing the way we run our lives, with and without a vehicle. See the show notes for this episode, remarkableresults.biz/E305. You'll get a link to all of Derek Kaufman's interviews. One thing I know is you can enjoy the podcast on an app. How cool is that?
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time,